Hello, welcome to season 3 of Eat This, Drink That. This is going to be episode 22. We're going to have Steve leading the way with a special drink for us. So Steve, today, what is your drink that?
We're going old school on the how-to. I'm going to do an old-fashioned. I love old-fashions.
Yes.
Winter is coming. This is going to be a part of your 3 to 4 ingredient cocktail arsenal that you always have in your memory, in your back pocket. You can throw down no matter whose house you're at.
Very manly drink.
Yeah, and everybody loves an old-fashioned.
Women do
You can
too.
play around with bourbon and rye. I'm using bourbon today. You can also play around with the proof. So a higher proof is going to be a more assertive cocktail. Rye is going to be more assertive in the cocktail. Higher proof is going to be more assertive. You play around. So let's go back to the principles of taste all your ingredients.
Okay.
Get hammered before you even make the cocktail.
Yes. Proper ice. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. And
mold.
yeah, and we could just say proper ingredients. So don't buy swill bourbon. That'll be a gross cocktail.
Okay.
Why would you do that?
Right.
What's swill bourbon? Shots fired. Let's go. Come on. Talk
I don't know. McCormick. Something, that's what my uncle used to drink.
Jim
was
Beam
McCormick.
or something? Jim Beam or Jack?
Well, no, Beam's fine, but go up a little bit.
I see.
I mean, you're making a 2-ingredient cocktail. The better the spirit, the better the cocktail.
Got it.
Get the $30 bottle instead of the 20.
Or the 10. I mean, there's some swill out there.
I
I
see.
mean, he said Beam. He signed off on Beam. Beam is cheap. Beam is cheap.
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine
Where's
for a
my old
cocktail.
granddad? That's a
You know
cheap.
what I use? So Old Foe
Clooney's.
is what I usually use for cocktails. Old Foe.
What do you call it?
Old Forester. Old Foe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love Old Forester.
Honestly, bang for your buck bourbon. Done.
Yep.
Old Forester.
I use that for a lot of cocktails.
Yeah.
Four Roses, I just have the, not the entry, there's a yellow label below this. I just have the regular bourbon. I have some
That's
single
the entry.
barrels.
What is that? 4 Roses.
This, how much?
No. Which one is that? That's just regular 4 Roses?
Regular bourbon. Just 4 Roses bourbon.
Okay.
What I really do prefer to make cocktails, single barrel, a little higher proof. It can be any producer, but I do like 4 Roses. 4 Roses usually has a second ingredient called high rye. So you can call it a high rye bourbon.
Okay.
So that means after the corn, the second ingredient is of higher proportion is rye. So that's going to give you that sweetness from the bourbon with a spice from the rye. Woodinville makes one. There's a bunch of people that do high rye bourbons.
Okay.
As opposed to the stuff coming out of Buffalo Trace and the Pappies and all that, those are wheated bourbons.
Okay.
So the second grain or the high second grain is wheat.
Wheated.
That's a creamier texture, less spice. I like spice. Before we go on,
And a lot of people don't know.
tangent,
A lot of people don't know that that bourbon is not always 80 proof, right? There's a lot of 86s and
Yeah.
so So look at your label, everyone. They can get a little
Yeah.
spicy
Hey.
on you.
I'm also a big fan of turkey. Wild Turkey 101 makes an amazing cocktail.
101. Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And sip. Yeah.
Honestly, I almost think the high proofs are a little more fun because
Yeah.
you've got the sweetness to cut into it. And it's
Yep.
kind of funny. A lot of the whiskeys you're talking about aren't that expensive. Wild
No.
Turkey's freaking cheap. Jim Beam is freaking
Nope.
cheap. Old Forester's like shockingly affordable for frankly
Yeah.
how good it is.
Yeah.
Yep. You don't have to spend $60 on a bourbon to make cocktails.
I don't think you don't have to spend more than 20.
Yeah.
Buffalo Trace is decent.
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, I
Bullet,
see it for
these
25,
are fine.
26 all the time. So yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
This is a tangent hole upon a wormhole upon just somewhere we don't really want to talk about on a quick 15-minute episode. There's a lot to say in the world of bourbon. We're only making old fashions right now. We're not bashing on other people's bourbons. Taste your ingredients, find the one that you like, and find the one that makes a great old fashioned.
All
So
right.
I just want to ask really quickly,
Yeah.
you enjoy the taste of the whiskey on its own. How do you find the right whiskey that you want to, right bourbon that you want to basically turn into an old fashioned?
The stuff that I drink, I also make cocktails with.
Okay.
I mean, I don't sit around and just, make 10, 15 old fashions for people. And, I'm going through an entire bottle in one sitting.
Yeah.
I might have an old fashioned once a week. I'm going to use the bourbon that I like to sip on. And I'm going to and I like playing around with rye too. I love high rye whiskey for an old fashioned.
Nice.
But old fashioned, we're even more simplistic than the normal 3 to 4 ingredient. We are 2 ounces of bourbon, a teaspoon of some sort of sweetener. It could be simple syrup that you made, or we're going to use a maple syrup. And I use actually a little bit less, 3/4 of an ounce. And then bitters. I use Peychaud for bourbon and rye cocktails. 2 dashes. 2 ounces, 1, 2 dashes.
So it's got to be that bitters? Because I've got, I don't know, Agora, it's orange.
Angostura. You probably have Angostura. You can use Angostura.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just didn't look like the other. My thing looks like Worcestershire. Yours looks red.
Yeah. Yep. The Peychaud is a little redder tint.
Okay, so
you won't see that color in the bourbon.
So far, we have 2 ounces of bourbon, and then you started saying dashes, and teaspoons. So where are we at in the recipe here?
Yeah.
So 2 ounces of bourbon, or your spirit, can be rye. 1 teaspoon of sweetener, simple syrup, or maple syrup. Agave syrup would work. And then 2 dashes of bitters.
Okay.
So let's dive in. Let's go back to my ice topic. This is just a simple tray for square ice.
That's what I have. Mine's orange, but same thing.
Yeah. Square ice. That's it. So I got 1 in the glass. I'm going to put 1 in my little tin because we're going to stir just to get it down a little bit in temperature.
Okay.
Remember,
I got to see it.
So I'm using the little guy today. Yeah, so tins come with the 2 portions so you can shake.
Oh, right.
This is just the little one. I'm really not even going to stir that much. I'm going to get the temperature down just a little bit. I'd hate over diluted old fashions or Manhattans that taste like water. I want to taste the spirit.
Okay. And you're not keeping your bourbon in the fridge or the freezer like a vodka, correct? Or
Yeah. This is just room temperature.
Okay. So you can probably stir
and really
longer than maybe a martini. You would stir it.
Bingo. Okay. So for a martini, I stir like 10 seconds.
Okay.
For this, you might stir 15, 20.
Okay.
Always have your little straw with you so you can taste and go, that's perfect. You can always keep stirring. You can never take the water back out from stirring. So don't over stir and over dilute. So let's roll. I'm going to play around with a different one to show people different measuring utensils.
Okay.
This is OXO or OXO or whatever they're called. It's a 2 ounce little guy. I'm just going to 2 ounces. Boom.
Are you using 4 roses today?
Yeah, I'm using 4 roses.
Cool.
I don't know. I think I just bought this at the store, and this is what I've been drinking. Normally, I get the single barrel or something from 4 Roses, but this was super cheap.
Cool. 2 ounces of that. All right.
That's it. I mean, your old fashioned is so easy. There's really no reason to not make these and enjoy them.
No excuse.
Yeah.
No, wait, you poured the whiskey in the glass. What did you use the
Yeah, that was an accident. Okay. I just noticed I did that.
Yeah.
This is why
I just make mine in the glass.
You can. That's why I don't usually put the glasses and the tin in front of me because I do that all the time.
Got it. Yeah.
The only reason I'm doing it this way is just to show people on the stirring. It's easier. Another reason, you can make multiple in one tin and then portion them
I
out
see.
3-4 people. So you can just make a bigger batch in one tin and then strain it out.
When you make it in the tin, though, are you adding the ice, or do you wait for the ice?
Yeah, I just have one ice cube in there for the stirring, for a quick stir.
Mhm.
And actually, I'm going to use my teaspoon that I just put the syrup in. I'm not stirring for very long. I can feel it on the outside of the tin, how cold it is, and then that's going to be it. I don't want to stir
What's nice
anymore.
about the tin. It seems to be a good gauge of going. If you feel it's getting cold, it's time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Plus,
And
you
then
could probably
I
chip your
use
glass too if you're using a metal spoon. If you could,
yes.
Yeah.
And you're using a metal spoon in the glass. It can get you might overstir and break your glass if it's a cheap glass. So Peychaud, I mean, you can put the 2 dashes in before you stir. I was just bourbon, syrup. It's easy to start stirring right away. And then, boom, grab your strainer. Remember, I think we've talked about this on other episodes. The Hawthorne strainer just fits really well in that tin. You have more control. Nothing's flying out. Boom.
It's such a great drink because it's just like a glorified shot. You know what I mean? It's just there it is.
This is an assertive cocktail. It is spirit forward. It's not masking the bourbon or the rye. Garnishes. Let's talk about them. You can do an orange twist. You can do a lime or a lemon twist, not lime. Lemon. I like cherries.
Lemon twist with an old fashioned.
Hey, let's just dumb it down a little bit. What is a lemon twist?
So if you take your vegetable peeler and you roll the orange or the lemon through the vegetable peeler, you're only taking off the very top layer of the skin, and then you twist it and throw it in the glass.
Okay, so we want to twist the juice in there, throw the rind in there as well.
Yep.
Okay.
And you don't want to over take off the skin where it's got the white on it. That's called the pith. You're really just wanting the outer layer, and that is for one thing. The essential oils that live in that skin, and when you twist it, they come out.
Nice.
And not overwhelmingly so. Just like a little bit. But I like cherries. I love cherries. Traverse City Cherry Company, or Cocktail Cherries, whatever.
The land of cherries.
Yes, exactly. That cherry festival is a blast. Traverse City is amazing. Leelanau County, Sleeping Bear Dunes, all of it. Throw in as many cherries as you want.
Are you getting?
So what are those things? Are those like just sitting in like a sugar solution preserve?
Yeah. Just like those really bad maraschino cherries that you had as a kid that went into a Shirley Temple, except less sweet. And better quality cherry.
Okay.
And then that's it. You got an old fashioned.
Beautiful.
Now, I always do the orange peel, and then for some reason I put a flake. I was making them last night, and I was taking the orange peel. I was putting it over my burner on the stove.
Yep.
And then I would twist it and do that. I don't know why. That's maybe blame it on YouTube.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Burning anything is fun. So, I mean, why not?
Wow. Nailed it. Nailed it right there. No pretension here, folks. Zero pretension. Beavis, Butthead, and Greer all agree. Burning is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, burn it.
Question about the cherries. Are you trying to get a little extra juice in there, or are you trying to have them as just cherries?
No, I wanted them as dry as possible. I don't want extra flavoring.
Okay, gotcha.
If you've watched these how-to videos before, balance is really the key, and your flavor profile. So if you don't like it spirit forward, you can keep stirring. Dilute it a little bit more. If you like a little more cherry flavor, or you like that orange zest or orange peel and the essential oils, do both cherries and orange peel. Play around with your magic recipe and then stick to it and remember it. It's really simple. Doing a at-home cocktail on par with a restaurant is actually pretty easy for the 2, 3, and 4 ingredient cocktails. Proper technique, proper ingredients, don't use crap. And that's it. And play around with your flavor profile.
Nice. And so this is a smaller drink than the martini, right? The martini is like 4 ounces. This one's going to be a little 2+.
Yeah, so the martini or a Manhattan will end up being, depending on how spirit forward you go, let's call it 3 1/4, 3 1/2. This is 2.
Gotcha. And the ice is making it look bigger because you got a big hump.
Let's call it, yeah. And that's why I don't use the sphere ice. Because that thing is just going to be going all over. This cube almost fits this glass perfectly, so it's not really going all over.
What kind of a glass are we using for these?
Rocks glass. This is just an old-fashioned glass. Okay. I bought these. I love restaurant equipment supply stores. I go all the time. I don't really buy at like a regular store.
Right.
This is the stuff you'll get in a restaurant for not that much money. I think these were $6.
Yeah.
They feel nice in the hand. Part of the drinking experience is still just like a really nice wine glass for the perfect wine. It's the experience of holding that glass.
Yeah.
I do like the sound too, the clink.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love the clink.
Yep. You feel like you should have a pinky ring on and just,
nice.
The clink.
That works too. I have to say, this is my favorite cocktail. One of my favorite drinks, just in general. I will say, because especially if I'm making it at home, and my glass has a hole in it. I keep finding myself needing to refill. It's like more work. Gets a little sticky. A lot of stickiness happening. I got a bald orange sitting on a cutting board. I actually will say I recommend going on the higher proof because it is a tough drink. And when you have that sweet, it can be so. Fortunately, I've got an old-fashioned mix. Like I don't have a true simple syrup. It's like a mix for old-fashioned, right? And it's like super sweet. And I got.
You know how easy it is to make simple syrup?
It was a gift. You know what's funny? I have a batch of simple syrup I made in the fridge, but I'm trying to get through this stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to get through it. Just saying.
Yeah. And here's another fun fact before we wrap up. If you know you and your wife, you're going to each have 2, and you really don't want to keep making these, pre-batch them. Just keep the ice away from the spirit until you're ready to stir
so
and
you can
strain.
Just mix the bitters.
Make 4. Yeah, so go 8 ounces of high proof bourbon or rye, 4 teaspoons of your syrup, and then 8 dashes of the bitters. Leave that sit in your bigger tin, and then strain out some into the little tin for your first 2 cocktails with the ice. Stir, strain.
Oh, I got it.
And then pour the rest in. They're already made. That way you don't have to keep making these.
Can you keep it in the tin room temp or in the fridge
or
what?
Room temp.
As long as it doesn't touch the ice, right?
Don't touch the ice because the ice will melt and dilute.
Got it.
Last question, Steve.
Yep.
If I was making 4 of these to be served immediately, can I get them cold enough off just the 1 piece of ice, or should I have 2 pieces of ice in the tin?
Yeah, that's a good point. I would make them in batches of 2. You can use both your tins. That way, to get the temperature down, you might end up over diluting if you have too big of a batch. With too many ice cubes.
Gotcha.
So smaller, the same size cube, a little less liquid. You get it colder quicker without over diluting.
Awesome. How to make an old fashioned with Steve.
In volume too.
Let's get a visual of that drink one more time. Beautiful.
Yeah, there you go.
I like the cherry. I'm an orange peel guy, but I like that cherry right there. I'm going to have to have some good cherries.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for another good episode of Eat This, Drink That. We will see you soon. Thank you, Ali and Steve.
Thanks, guys.
Stay thirsty.